Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for those words. Now I'd like to invite Trustee of Miami-Dade College, Marcell Felipe, to join us up here. Thank you.
I'm going to start saying a few words in Spanish because one of the media outlets that's here is Radio and TV Martí, and what they post gets to Cuba. So I'm going to start by sending a message to Cuba. La celebración que estamos haciendo hoy aquí de libertad y de democracia es en nombre de ustedes, es en nombre de todos los que siguen luchando hoy en día por una Cuba libre. Es en nombre de Rosa María Payá, en nombre de Orlando Gutiérrez, en nombre de la brigada que después de 63 años sigue haciendo una diferencia en la lucha por la Cuba de hoy en día. Esto lo hacemos en nombre de los presos políticos que hoy en día siguen en las mazmorras castristas. Este mensaje sé que les llega a ustedes de una manera u otra. Así que a José Daniel Ferrer, sigue en tu lucha, que tienes un pueblo mirándote su liderazgo. Michael Osorbo, Luis Manuel Otero Alcántara, Félix Navarro, todos ustedes están haciendo historia. Miami los está mirando, el mundo los está mirando y juntos vamos a llegar a ese día que tengamos libertad. Gracias, Ninosca, por seguir siendo una voz. Gracias a nuestro exilio, que después de 65 años no se cansa y no se rinde. Seguimos adelante hasta que Cuba sea libre. I want to thank you in indulgence of those of you that don't speak Spanish. But believe me, it's important because what we do here gets to that dark, humid cell where that person is constantly being told that they're wrong, that the government is right, that their effort is in vain, and they will be of no use. And the only light of hope that they have is days like this, where we tell them that we're still shining a light for their freedom. So I beg your indulgence. Now, what we're doing today is honoring and fulfilling so many decades of dreams and honoring so many people that have gone through here. One of the first people that we have to honor are the folks that actually came through these halls. And some might say, well, where's the honor in that? They were just refugees asking for a handout. Well, I'll tell you what the honor is in that. Cuban Americans is the first, perhaps the only group in American history that didn't come looking for a better economic future. Cuban Americans came from all walks of life. Many left extremely successful businesses. Many renounced promising banking careers to come and pick tomatoes in the fields of Homestead, of serve as waitresses in the restaurants. But they did it and they traded all their wealth for one simple concept, which is freedom. And that is an admirable and honorable trait in any human being, to leave everything you have for the same simple concept that nothing, no form of material wealth, can equal the dignity that freedom gives you as a human being. Those were the heroes of that generation. And believe me, when you're staring at a totalitarian society, that anything you say or do, like Armando Valladares, who spent 22 years in prison for failing to put a picture of Fidel Castro on his desk, it takes a lot of honor to say, I'm not joining the crowd. I'm not going to say paredón next to everybody else. I'm going to take my position and say, this is wrong. I'm going to fight. Those are heroes. But there's another set of heroes that we often forget in the story of the Freedom Tower. And that is the people that came here to provide those refugees with services. Because let me tell you, that is one of the most beautiful parts of the story of the Freedom Tower. It wasn't just other Cuban exiles who came here and provided help. It was the Jewish community. It was the American community. It was the black community. There is a saying that you often hear from those, the first wave of exiles. They will tell you, when we first got here, it wasn't so easy. There was a lot of signs on apartments for rent that said, no blacks, no Cubans, no dogs. And that certainly could have been something to hold you back. But we Cubans knew, and we knew because of our contact with people here at the Freedom Tower, that for every single person behind one of those signs, there were 9 others welcoming us with open arms to this great, beautiful country that is the United States of America. And that is something that we will always take with you, that gratitude of being allowed into the American family to pursue our dream. And one of the people that fulfilled that dream was Jorge Mascanosa. Jorge Mascanosa, at our museum, which I also invite you to visit, the American Museum of the Cuban Diaspora, we chose to begin the exhibit, the permanent exhibit, with a video of Jorge Mascanosa. There's a clip of him. He's, as he usually was, in a very agitated state because he couldn't wait to tell people about freedom, to tell people about our story. And he's lecturing to the members of Congress. He's not telling, he's lecturing to the members of Congress. And he's saying, you know what? He said something that really captures, we put it at the front of the museum because it really captures the essence of being a Cuban American. He said, I was a milkman. I washed a lot of dishes in the hotels in Miami Beach. And just last week, I opened a publicly traded company in the New York Stock Exchange. I've been extremely successful. My community has been extremely successful. And that is not just something that we owe to ourselves. We owe to this great country that for which we are eternally grateful that opened the doors and gave us that opportunity. But just as we have fulfilled the American dream, he paused and he said, as long as there is communism and dictatorship on that island, we will never forget our brothers and sisters on that island. That is the Cuban American promise. He is so much here with us. Ninoka, I know you feel him. Ninoka was probably one of the people that was with him at every single moment. And it's such a full circle to have her here with us today. But he didn't see the dream get realized. It had to take another prominent Cuban American family to say, you know what? This destiny has put us in charge of this particular icon. And the only right thing to do is to gift it to the city with the condition, which is right there on that deed. I'm one of those nerds, I've read the deed, that it has to be turned into a museum. So, to your family, thank you so much for that gift. If it wasn't for you, this day would not be here today. And I could see he's emotional from that video. I could see the emotion. It's real. We all feel it. But after that, one thing led to another. Daily life gets in the way, and it still wasn't happening. We still didn't have a museum. Then I get a call from the Speaker of the Florida House of Representatives, Jose Oliva, and then the governor, and the Lieutenant Governor, Jeanette Nunez. And they say, we'd like you to serve on the board of Miami-Dade College Board of Trustees. And I said, why? I mean, it's an honor, but every waking moment that I'm not focused on my business, I'm focused on what political prisoner we need to get out, what head of state do we need to reach. I'm focused on the freedom of Cuba. What is education? You know, I'm not the illogical choice. And he said, well, we're at a pivotal point in Miami-Dade College history. We're choosing a new president. And you're always complaining about the Confucius Institute, the Chinese government-backed Confucius Institute, and the fact that we still don't have a Freedom Tower museum. Go there and make it happen. Of course, the trade-off was we had to get into the battle for the search of the new president, which was going to be controversial. And in that search, there were so many excellent and qualified candidates. Excellent. I mean, top of the line. Everybody wants to be in Miami because of what this community has created, the special place that you guys have created here. And most of the people, as we interviewed, the different board members, the different candidates, would say, oh yeah, that Freedom Tower, I'd like to learn more about that. You know, because the first thing from my end was, do you understand that you're not just leading an academic institution? You're going to be the trustee of one of the most iconic buildings in Miami. And it's your job to restore this and make it happen. So everyone's, yeah, I'd like to learn more about that. When I met with Madeline, she says, that's one of the reasons I want the job. My father went through that. And one of my missions, my primary goals, is going to be to restore that museum. So as you could imagine, for someone that was in here for that particular purpose, to find someone that had even a bigger drive than I did to make this a reality, it was love at first sight. And I gotta tell you that from every single angle, one of the most eye-opening experiences that I've had was serving on this board with so many wonderful people. The board's changed over the years, but we haven't yet had anybody that isn't a spectacular member of this board, that hasn't really pulled their weight. And I really, really want to take a moment to recognize the leadership of somebody that I think I haven't had the opportunity to meet, a leader that is so disinterested and so, what's the word I'm looking for? So good at getting things done, which is our chairman, Mike Beleka. What a steady hand. So finally I said, hey, great, you get a great leader. What you really want to do in business, you want to get a great leader and then let them go. But did we let her go? Immediately, Madeline got to work. And the first thing was, we need $25 million, and no one's going to see it. Because it's not $25 million for the museum, it's $25 million to keep the building alive. And as I said, this is a work of everyone. We called the governor's office, we started a campaign on America TV, and what did the governor say? Very similar to Madeline's message. This is not something you gotta ask me, this is something I wanna do. And we got the $25 million. And then Madeline went out and extended that and said, you know what? Now I'm really gonna put the pedal to the metal. And she started bringing in what I call the beautiful people, the Cuban royalty. She started bringing in a great, great Freedom Tower committee comprised of people like Miguel Besos, Emilio Estefan. I mean, who can put together this kind of team? Only Madeline. And the reason Madeline can put it is because of her enthusiasm for what we're doing here. Her enthusiasm for her community is contagious. And you see it every day in every single thing she does. 1 in the morning, but not 1 in the morning on Wednesday, 1 in the morning on Saturday. She's always thinking Miami. She's always thinking Miami-Dade College. So from the bottom of my heart, it takes an entire team. She put the fire under Maria Carla. Maria Carla, everybody, down to the detail. So it's a pleasure to have served on this board, or to continue serving on this board with all of you. What a great new day for the new members that are just joining us today on this board. I think there's just a beginning of a lot of great things that are going to come right here at this museum. We have the Institute for Freedom of the Americas. We're through the Meserani Cátedra, we're going to have all the heads of state coming on board. I thank you. Enjoy the moment, and I'll close with saying something about our host today, our maitre d'. Everybody knows Plasencia for his success in business and his untiring waiver and of support for civic causes. But few people know, and if you visit our museum, you'll learn about this, that Plasencia's father, together with the Isaías family from Ecuador, started with the Republic National Bank, was the first bank to give loans to Cuban exiles who had no credit and who had no money and no collateral. But they did the handshake loan, the character loans. And today, most of the businesses that you see in Miami that are great businesses started with his father. So he's also Cuban royalty.